Hi, welcome to day 18 to 20 of Ethony's 31 Days of Tarot Challenge. I'm going to do a couple of days together because on one hand these questions probably I don't have so much to say about, but also I am going away for a couple of days and I will not have the chance to record anything. So day 18 is new things I learned about tarot in 2017, and one thing very interesting that I learned how literal the tarot cards can be in their depictions. That last year's card was the Hangman for me, and it came out in my yearly reading 3 times. I did my yearly reading with 3 different decks, and the Hangman came out of each of the decks in that reading. So I realized then that this was a very significant issue that I will have to deal with. But there is one very funny aspect of the Hangman for me. Sometime in 2017 I realized that even though I prefer to go to sleep on my stomach or on my side, I started actually falling asleep in the hangman position. I would have my left leg straight out and my right leg bent over to my knee, and also I will have my 2 hands around my middle or on my stomach, and I would go to sleep in the exact same position that you can see on this card. And I thought that was very funny, a very funny aspect of embodying the Hanged Man in my life. This year's card is the Death card, and already in the last 3 weeks more appliances broke down than in any of the previous years or in a 10-year period before that. So anything basically now is at the end of its life cycle, and I have to replace so many things now. It's a little bit annoying as well, but if that's the end that I need to experience, I'm fine with that. So that was something. I also learned a lot of new meanings, interpretations for certain cards, especially the negative cards and my stalker cards, my 7 of Wands, the 9 of Wands, the 7 of Swords, and the 3 of Swords. What else? The life was just showing me other ways of looking at these cards, and I am so appreciative of that because I really I'm glad that my knowledge was expanded that way. I also started to learn reading pip decks, which I talked about many times, so that's a wonderful thing. And also what I really like is that I realized that how much a person's taste can change even in a short period of a year, because there were some decks which before did not have any appeal to me, and by the end of last year I slowly discovered the beauty in them. There were some artistic depictions which I did not feel drawn to before, but after that I really enjoyed. This is one reason why I am hesitant to let go of any of my decks, because I know that something that does not have any pull to me maybe at this point will be more significant in the future. I've seen examples of this a couple of times already. So I'll just put away those decks that are not speaking to me in that period of time, and I will just use the ones that I feel drawn to, but that's fine. It's nice to have some movement in the decks that I use. So next day 19, which tarot deck gives the heebie-jeebies? I don't have any tarot decks that give me the heebie-jeebies. There are some decks that I'm completely not drawn to. I don't feel anything. I have absolutely no interest, and I have never had any interest in vampire and that sort of things. So I don't have any vampire decks. I don't really like the artwork of vampire decks, typically with all the running mascara and the messed up lipstick. I don't think that's nice, but that I just don't feel anything about these decks. I have never been interested in the vampire genre, even in films or books. I've never read Twilight, I've never seen any vampire series or anything that is related to that. I'm just not interested in that. But there are two things that I could think of which gives me the heebie-jeebies. And one is in Lenormand decks, the snake card. I don't know, because there's such a duality in me about the snake card. On one hand, I really like them and I'm interested in them, and I have, whenever we have an animal show in our town, I would go there with my daughter and we would just touch the snakes and look at them closely. And when and yet probably this goes back to the images that I've seen in my childhood, maybe some scary movies, and in those snakes are depicted like vicious and venomous. And so there is this duality in me that I really don't like when the Lenormand deck has a snake card that looks very vicious and attacking. So as you could see as I flipped through my cards, that I chose Lenormand decks where the snake representation is much more peaceful and calming, and I can look past this this aspect of a snake. Neither of these are particularly menacing, so I think this is something that I have some aversion to. And the other thing is, this again probably goes back to my childhood. I have two gypsy reading decks, and the death card in here just feels so much more sinister than the death cards in my tarot decks. And one reason I can think of is probably that I found tarot when I was a grown-up, and I immediately learned what that card meant and what it represented. And yet with the gypsy reading cards, I probably saw these cards a couple of times when I was a kid, here and there. So I'm always very cautious when I use the gypsy reading cards. I feel that these decks have more of an attitude towards when one might use them. I only pull out these decks when I have something very significant question to ask, which is specific to this deck. So these are two depictions that kind of give me the heebie-jeebies, that I am not entirely comfortable when these depictions come out. But otherwise, in regard of tarot decks, as I said, I don't really have any aversion to any of the decks. The next question for day 20 is a tarot myth I believed and why I stopped believing. What should I show you while I'm talking about this? I'll just flip through the Silver Era Tarot just so that there is something visually interesting while I discuss this. I trimmed this deck. This is a very thick, very massive deck, and the cardstock is thick and firm and good shuffler, because there is a slight glossiness to the cards. And I am an experienced trimmer, so you may be able to see that there is a slight unevenness to the length of the cards, and that was because of the images were not of the same size. So I trimmed this deck down all the way to the images. So a tarot myth that I believed and why I stopped believing. I wasn't aware of many tarot myths before I started my journey with tarot, but actually I thought that reading tarot and working with any kind of divination tool is just for a few people, and you have to be born with a kind of affinity to read the cards. Also, I thought that reading tarot and reading any kind of cards is very much about predicting the future and fortune telling. And when I found tarot and oracle decks, I realized that that's not the case. And actually, we can all learn to read tarot or any other card system, and we can use tarot in many other ways than just for fortune telling and telling the future. So that's something that my experience taught me, that it's not necessarily the case as I thought when I was young. And I just met with an interesting thing a couple of days ago. I was talking to someone else who is also more esoterically inclined, so to say. But when I talked about reading tarot, she expressed her beliefs that I cannot read tarot for myself. So if I wanted a reading on something major, I should always go to another reader. And even though I appreciate when an experienced reader reads the cards for me without any prior knowledge, and they have a very unbiased point of view, and they can give me ideas and insights which I might have a blind spot for. Nevertheless, I do not believe that I could not do a proper reading for myself, or a reading which is very powerful and revealing, because I have had such readings. I have done such readings for myself which were very healing, very emotionally challenging, and I think as long as you are willing to take the bad with the good, I think a person can actually read for themselves just as well as if someone else was doing it. So that was something that was interesting to meet with, this idea, but that's not something that I share. That's not a belief that I share. So these were my answers for days 18, 19 and 20, and I am slowly getting to the end of this deck, so I will say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching, and I will be back soon with day 21, my favorite deck storage options. Bye bye.